Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om 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 Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri 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 Ram Jai Ram Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Om to everybody. Today we have a feast. Though the topic is the same, approach to the topic is different. It's a vital topic, something about inward journey, which is very, very important in the spiritual journey. Papa's poem, this is the first proof for the vision for February. We are already in February. March. Blissful inner witness. That is the poem. The pattern of my life was woven by you. So also all life. The outer patterns are different. But you, who are the inner spirit, are one and the same in all. In the quest of you, I found you are the blissful inner witness. The spirit in me and in all beings, all patterns are mine, designed by me. My forms, my body, my outer expressions. Ultimately, the truth dawned in me. I am in all yourself. You are all in myself. Editorial. All our external spiritual practices are done to attune external spiritual practices are done to attune our inner equipment to take up the inward journey. The senses and the mind have been unknowingly trained to go outward. So it is really a tough job to change their course. Unless and until the mind takes up the inward journey, one will not be able to realize the core of one's being. Only after realizing the real self within will one be able to see the same self manifest as the rest of the creation. So inward journey is imperative. Various methods have been prescribed by Mahatmas for inward journey. Contemplation and meditation are some of the most universally recommended means. Concentration and meditation are purely mental disciplines through which a waveless and fixed state of mind attains. By taking up any mental practice best suited to one's temperament and environment, to fix the mind on one thought to the exclusion of all others. This thought must represent or symbolize the eternal reality within one's heart. Viratpapa has suggested dwelling on the glorious attributes of God like He is eternal, omnipresent, all-powerful, all-knowing, changeless, ever-peaceful, and blissful. When one makes the mind continuously dwell on these attributes, they will have a telling effect on the way one acts and reacts when dealing with events and individuals, thus transforming life into a blissful stream of God consciousness. This month's issue of the Vision carries articles of various Mahatmas on different approaches to inward journey. Your beloved everywhere by Viratpapa. The mind which constantly contemplates upon God imbibes into its being with immortality, love and joy. The saying, as a man thinketh, so he becometh, is eminently true. The individuality conceived of by the mind as a stable and real existence must, by means of meditation, merge in the universality of God's existence. It is the experience of every aspirant on the spiritual path that the more he devotes the mind to the exalted thought of God, the more he is absolved from its impurities. The principle is, take in brilliant and elevating ideas, and automatically the low and groveling thoughts will be purged off. Just as the application of soap removes the dirt of the cloth, turning it clean and white, or just as light dispels darkness and illumines space, so also a sustained recollection of God, destroying all the distempers of the mind, purifies and ennobles life. It is rightly said that one should not unnecessarily exert oneself for subduing the mind, but what one has to do is to dwell in the contemplation of God. And by this method, not only purify the heart, but also simultaneously fill it with the light, love and joy of God. Verily, there is no peace for man until his mind is liberated from the clutches of passion, until the wisdom of eternal enlightens him. Therefore, raise your heart, mind, soul and body to the throne of the Almighty Lord within you in concentrated adoration and worship. Let the harassing complexity of life be substituted by harmonious simplicity. So regulate your life as to attain to a vision which enables you to be naturally friendly towards all creatures and beings in the world. Let humility be your shield, love your weapon, and a blissful life of service the aim and mark. Don't be satisfied with anything less than the universalization of your outlook upon life. This is the Atma Darshan, sung of by the sages of yore. It is a supreme state in which the notion of the body, the sense of apparent diversity, and the erroneous consciousness of the ego have no place. It is the vision of the pure, resplendent spirit that pervades all beings in the universe. It is a vision of yourself as the indwelling reality in all the forms and existences. It is a vision of indescribable ecstasy, born of the knowledge of one eternal substratum of soul that fills and overflows to infinity the world phenomena. How do you reach the summit of this transcendental reality? By recollection, by contemplation, by meditation. Give your thought entirely to God, and you are bound to realize that you are God Himself. Before the glory of this attainment, all other aspirations of man are flat and childish. When you can tune your mind with the all-powerful Master of the universe and realize deathless peace, liberation and bliss, is it worthwhile for you to pursue the ephemeral prizes and achievements of the world, however great and glossy they might seem? What a tremendous privilege this human birth is. Human life can have the full value set on it only when it is utilized for achieving the loftiest purpose for which it is meant. Hence, turn your mind day by day towards the immortal source of your life, God. Let your life be more and more filled with divine effulgence and love. Let your actions flow like a gentle stream, singing the melodious song of divine service. Be gifted with the sight of the sage, and behold your beloved everywhere. Hey, your beloved everywhere. Title is Your Beloved Everywhere, which can become a reality only when we take to recollection, contemplation, meditation. That means inversion. Again, words of Beloved Papa. Concentration precedes meditation, and perfect stillness of the mind follows meditation. Concentration precedes meditation, and perfect stillness of the mind follows meditation. For developing concentration, various methods are employed. Of these, the practice of fixing the mind on any form of God's many avatars or on the sound of His name is the easiest way for one who is on the path of bhakti. Any form or name of the Lord, or both which you hold dear as your Ishta, may be taken up for practice. You usually start with a picture or an image of the Lord before you. Fixing your gaze upon it, take this object as a symbol of the Almighty Truth. After a period, the form to which you are devoted gets, so to say, stamped on the mind, and then you can mentally concentrate upon that. Side by side, you can also repeat His name by the tongue. When you adopt mere repetition as a means for concentration, you have to assume that the sound of the name is itself the symbol of God. By gradual practice, the external repetition will lead to an automatic repetition of the name in the mind. When thus either the form or the name comes into the mind constantly, you will attain concentration. By this sadhana, you will be able to curb the restless nature of the mind. Without this preparatory process, meditation becomes impossible. Meditation means making the mind dwell upon the attributes of the Lord as described in the Gita, namely that He is eternal, all-pervading, almighty, absolute freedom, peace, wisdom, love, bliss. Then a stage will be reached when all the waves of the mind will cease and will be bathed in the stillness of the transcendent reality within yourself. Nischala Tattva. The object of meditation is to merge your individual sense and existence in the universal light and vision of God. You will then, as a result of your sadhana, rise above the body idea and realize the omnipresence of God. The above are a few hints on concentration meditation. What is needed for a sadhaka is earnestness, perseverance, steadiness of purpose. The path is difficult for one who is in lukewarm about it, but it is easy for one who is really sincere and resolute. Pujya Mataji answers. Question. What dhyana did Mataji do? Mataji. Papa taught me to meditate on his Nirguna Nirvikara Swarup. He had warned me right at the outset not to meditate on any name or form, but grab hold of the nameless, formless aspect of Papa if I wanted to attain the real Ramdas. So my meditation was on the nameless, formless aspect of Papa. Papa means God. Yes. Question. How did Mataji meditate on the Nirguna Nirvikara Papa? Mataji. I brought to my mind all his universal attributes, telling myself all the time, Papa, thou art eternal, infinite, birthless, deathless, thou art beyond all name and form, and so on. In the beginning, such a thought used to come to me off and on. Later on, as my japa increased in intensity, the meditation on Papa's universal attribute became of longer duration until it became a permanent state. Question. Was there any particular murti that Mataji brought to mind in order to develop concentration? Mataji, no. I brought only Papa's divine attributes to my mind. I always remembered Papa's warning not to dwell on any Murti Puja, lest I should stagnate and remain at that stage only, without going any higher. Papa had told me that I should rise beyond all concepts of name and form, even of the Guru, if I wanted to attain the real Ramdas. Of course, before I came to Papa, I used to do a lot of Murti Puja, and that brought me to Papa. The eternal Papa whom we have to attain is complete void. The emptiness we see around us, the empty air in which we move our hands, that is Papa's true quality. To attain such a Papa, we have to completely efface our body consciousness. Our ego should get diluted and gradually cease to be. You must become utterly empty within, empty of all body idea, empty of all thinking process. The mind itself should not be there. Papa had warned me that even attachment to one's Guru could prove an obstruction to attaining the Guru's real eternal being. These are not to be read like this. Word journey, when we read like this, it becomes academic, textual. Real doesn't contribute for the inward world. When he says, there is emptiness, we have to immediately contemplate upon it, the void. It is not nothingness, it is fullness. Nothing of whatever that is knowable. All the knowables have been removed. What remains? That. Words of Swami Satchidananda. The purpose of chanting the mantra is to make the mind free from all other thoughts. By constant practice, this is possible. Ultimately, the mind will be free from even the God thought and become still. One can judge one's progress by the kind of thought one gets and the frequency of such thoughts and the peace one is able to maintain. So when you are concentrating on the Ajna center, the chanting of Ram Nam may stop by itself as the mind becomes still. After a little while, if the mind loses its stillness, you can chant Ram Nam again. The process may go on until the stillness is maintained for longer and longer periods. When chanting the name, there are different methods for attaining concentration. Beloved Papa used to concentrate on the sound of the name itself and was enjoying the bliss of Ram Nam. Some others who want some form to concentrate upon have the form of the Ishtadevata before their mental vision, or keep a picture in front of them and concentrate on that. Some others, while chanting the name, keep their mind on God as the all-pervading, nameless, formless, absolute existence that has manifested as the entire universe and is seated in everybody's heart. You are free to choose any of these methods and follow it. Ultimately, the mind has to be taken beyond all names and forms to rest on the absolute existence. Since you need some form, you may choose to concentrate upon the form of your Guru or Ishtadevata and meditate on the same. What is important is to maintain God remembrance. If you are able to achieve that without sitting and doing bhajan, it is perfectly alright. In fact, singing and chanting are eventually to lead one to silent meditation. One may get visions when the mind is attuned to God and is in Sattva Guna, whereas hallucination is the product of a disturbed mind. God is nameless, formless, attributeless. He has manifested himself for a protected core as the innumerable universe in which we are all included. To meditate on his nameless, formless, attributeless aspect is very difficult. Our rishis who had the experience of God and who were very compassionate found that it would be easier for man to worship and meditate on God in His manifested form. So they personified His different powers in the manifestation, such as the power of creation as Brahma, of preservation as Vishnu, of destruction as Shiva. They also personified the other powers as gods and recommended worshipping them. Then came avatars, direct descents of the supreme power like Rama, Krishna, etc., and also saints who realize their oneness with the Supreme Being. It must be understood that worship of any of the above forms is worship of the Supreme Being itself. You need not have the fear that other gods will be angry if you worship only one. When worshipping any one form of the Supreme Being, bring to your mind that that form is a symbol of the Supreme Being and that you are really worshipping the Supreme Being through the symbol. If you take to the chanting of God's name, any name of God, constantly, your mind will get purified. You will gradually be able to understand things clearly and all your doubts will be cleared from within, finally making it possible for you to realize the truth. J. Krishnamurti on meditation. Meditation is the movement of love. It is not the love of the one or the many. It is like water that everyone can drink out of any jar, whether golden or earthenware. It is inexhaustible. Meditation is one of the greatest arts in life, perhaps the greatest, and one cannot possibly learn it from anybody. That is the beauty of it. It has no technique, therefore no authority. Meditation cannot be learned from another. You must begin without knowing anything about it and move from innocence to innocence. When you learn about yourself, watch the way you walk, how you eat, what you say, the gossip, the jealousy. If you are aware of all that in yourself without any choice, that is part of meditation. So meditation can take place when you are sitting on a bus or walking in the woods full of light and shadows and listening to the singing birds or looking at the face of your wife and child. Concentration by Swami Shivananda. Concentration is holding the mind to one form or object steadily for a long time. Dharana is fixing the mind on an external object or an internal chakra or one abstract idea as Aham Brahmasmi. So Shankara writes in the commentary on Chandogya Upanishad that a man's duty consists in the control of the senses and concentration of mind. So long as the thoughts of one are not thoroughly destroyed, through persistent practice, he should ever be concentrating his mind as one truth at a time. Through such unremitting practice, one-pointedness will accrue to the mind and instantly all the hosts of thoughts will vanish. Concentration is opposed to sensuous desires, bliss to flurry and worry, sustained thinking to perplexity, applied thinking to sloth to torpor, rapture to ill will. You are born to concentrate the mind on God after correcting the mental rays that are dissipated on various objects. That is your important duty. You forget the duty on account of moha for family, children, money, power, position, respect, name, fame. Concentration of the mind on God after purification can give you real happiness and knowledge. You are born for this purpose only. You are carried away to external objects through raga and moha, attachment and infatuated love. Fix the mind on Atman. Fix the mind on the all-pervading pure intelligence and self-luminous effulgence, Swayam Jyoti. Stand firm in Brahman, then you will become Brahma Samstha, established in Brahman. Practice concentration of mind. In trying to concentrate your mind or even project a thought, you will find that you require naturally to form images in your mind. You cannot help it. Fix the mind on one object, on one idea. Withdraw the mind again and again when it runs away from the Lakshya. Fix it there. Do not allow the mind to create hundreds of thought forms. Introspect and watch the mind carefully. Do not allow the mind to dissipate its energy in vain on vain thoughts. Make it hold on to one thought form for half an hour by incessant practice. Make the mind to shape itself into one shape and try to keep the shape for hours together through constant and incessant practice. Meditation by Nisargadatta Maharaj. Meditation is a deliberate attempt to pierce into the higher states of consciousness and finally go beyond it. The art of meditation is the art of shifting the focus of attention to ever subtler levels without losing one's grip on the level left behind. In a way, it is like having death under control. One begins with the lowest level, social circumstances, customs and habits, physical surroundings, posture and the breathing of the body, the senses, their sensation and perceptions, the mind, its thoughts and feelings, until the entire mechanism of personality is grasped and firmly held. The final stage of meditation is reached when the sense of identity goes beyond the I am the witness only and beyond there is, beyond all ideas into the impersonally personal pure being. But you must be energetic when you take to meditation. It is definitely not a part-time occupation. Limit your interests and activities to what is needed for you and your dependent bearers' needs. Save all your energies and time for breaking the wall your mind has built around you. Believe me, you will not regret it. At the end of your meditation, all is known directly. No proofs whatsoever are required. Just as every drop of the ocean carries the taste of the ocean, so does every moment carry the taste of eternity. Definitions and descriptions have their place as useful incentives for further search, but you must go beyond them into what is undefinable and indescribable except in negative terms. After all, even universality and eternity are mere concepts, the opposites of being, place and time bound. Reality is not a concept, nor the manifestation of a concept. It has nothing to do with concepts. Concern yourself with your mind. Remove its distortions and impurities. Once you have had the taste of your own self, you will find it everywhere and at all times. Therefore, it is so important that you should come to it. Once you know it, you will never lose it. But you must give yourself the opportunity through intensive, even arduous meditation. Give your thoughts, heart and mind to brooding over the I am. What is it? How is it? What is its source? Its life, its meaning. It is very much like digging a well. You reject all that is not water till you reach the life-giving spring. Ramana Maharshi on meditation. Devotee, what is the difference between meditation and distraction? Maharshi, no difference. When there are thoughts, it is distraction. When there are no thoughts, it is meditation. However, meditation is only practice. How to practice meditation? Keep off thoughts. How to reconcile work with meditation? Maharshi, who is the worker? Let him who works ask this question. You are always the self. You are not the mind. It is the mind which raises this question. Work proceeds always in the presence of the self only. Work is no hindrance to realization. It is the mistaken identity of the worker that troubles one. Get rid of the false identity. How should dhyana be practiced? Dhyana serves to concentrate the mind. The predominant idea keeps off all others. Dhyana varies according to the individual. It may be on an aspect of God, on a mantra, or on the self. Devotee, should I go on with the repetition of sacred syllables? For example, Krishna or Rama's name when I worship images? Maharshi, mental japa is very good. That helps meditation. Mind gets identified with the repetition And then you get to know what worship really is. The losing of one's individuality in that which is worship. Devotee, what is the difference between meditation and investigation? Jnana and Vichara. Both amount to the same. Those unfit for investigation must practice meditation. In this practice, the aspirant forgetting himself meditates, I am Brahman, I am Shiva. Thus he continues to hold to Brahman or Shiva. This will ultimately end on the residual being as Brahman or Shiva, which he will realize to be pure being. He who engages in investigation starts holding on to himself as, who am I? And the self becomes clear to him. Attaining peace by Sri Sri Anandamayi Ma. Jagat means ceaseless movement. Jagat. And obviously there can be no rest in movement. How could there be peace in perpetual coming and going? Jagat itself, Jagat, is always vibrating. How could there be peace in perpetual coming and going? Peace reigns where no coming exists and no going. No melting, no burning. Reverse your course, advance towards Him, then there will be hope of peace. By your japa and meditation, those who are close to you also will benefit through the helpful influence of your presence. In order to develop a taste for meditation, you have to make a deliberate and sustained effort. Just as children have to be made to sit and study, be it by persuasion or coercion. By taking medicine or having injections, the patient may get well. Even if you do not feel inclined to meditate, conquer your reluctance and make an attempt. The habit of countless lives is pulling you in the opposite direction, making it difficult for you. Persevere in spite of it. By your tenacity, you will gain strength and be molded. That is to say, you will develop the capability to do sadhana. Make up your mind that however arduous the task, it will have to be accomplished. Recognition and fame last for a short time only. They do not accompany you when you leave this world. If your thought does not naturally turn toward the eternal, fix it there by an effort of will. Some severe blow of fate will drive you toward God. This will be but an expression of His mercy. However painful, it is by such blows that one learns one's lesson. The obstinacy of the mind must be curbed with resoluteness. Whether the mind cooperates or not, you must be adamant in your determination to do a certain amount of practice without fail. Simply because sadhana is man's real work. For so long, you have been accustomed to perform actions etc. Therefore, from sheer force of habit, you feel the urge to bind yourself to activity again and again. But if you try hard for some time, you will be able to see for yourself how you are caught in your work, and that the more you engage in sadhana, the quicker will be your advance. As for self-surrender, by constantly endeavoring to live a life of self-dedication, it will come about one day. What does self-surrender mean? If not to surrender to one's own very self. Keep in mind what this little daughter of yours is asking you to do. Our kingdom is not this world. Deyamata. Men think that this world is the only reality. But there is something beyond this world. And the reason man goes on being dissatisfied is that his kingdom is not of this world. Everything here is temporary and subject to change, governed by the illusion of time. When one becomes united with the divine, there is no past, present or future. God alone is eternal. Instead of talking about God, instead of reading about Him, now is the time to feel Him. The world will not know peace until man has learned to feel peace in God. Man has to change himself. before He can change the world. Unless and until we as individuals learn to live together as God's children, beholding the one creative beam of light behind our palm, there will be division, war, misery. We must find God within, and then with humility share with others His peace, His love, His harmony. As we strive in this way to serve as God's instrument, we should pray, Lord, Thou art the doer, Thy will be done. Humbly seeking the will of God does not imply idleness or lack of initiative and action. God helps him who helps himself. It means rather to surrender to God that He may use you as His instrument to do good on earth according to His divine will. Set aside every day for meditation, deep, joyous communion with God. Out of the 24 hours in each day, give 1 hour to the divine, beloved. Wise is that man who takes to heart this advice. Life is sweet and death a dream. Joy is sweet, sorrow a dream. When Thy song flows through me, Thou art wisdom, Thou art bliss, Thou art love, and that, dear one, is your reality. Meditate on breathing by Eckhart Tolle.
Daily 1 hour.
You will complete it now. See, the purpose of going through everyone is, in everyone the self is there, no? There you will find some inner alignment. Every article may not inspire. One word in one article might inspire. That is enough. Varieties are given before us. It is not to go through the whole thing and learn. Because everybody says the same truth in different forms. The moment we hear about the word inward journey, it becomes clearer to us that it is not a journey. It is not a journey from A to B. It is A to A only. So that itself gives us some idea. We start from Anand Ashram to Mavangar or railway station. You can understand. But here the journey is Anand Ashram to Anand Ashram. Then, out of the journey, that means we go deeper into the various aspects of the ashram's ideals, ashram's founder's philosophy, ashram's routine, and my role in it. Suppose we start thinking about it. Nothing else comes out. So inward journey is not a journey as normally we consider it. From a point A to point B. So all Mahatmas are giving us some clues for this A to A, It is otherwise it becomes dry. We may become non-starters. So Papa have given, Mataji have given, everybody have given their lesson. Let us take what is possible for us. First of all, let us get, we keep on bringing this inward journey. This repetitive hammering will definitely make us realize that inward journey alone is the way to get a glimpse of His presence first and to get stabilized. This is a must. There is no shortcut. We are, all of us have different taste, temperament, inclination, aptitude. So, depending upon that, we have to connect ourselves. Somebody may find it interesting in J.K. philosophy, Papa's approach, Mataji's approach, Swamiji's approach, Ramana Bhagavan's approach, Nisargadatta Maharaj's approach. Now, Eckhart Tolle. Let us complete the reading because we have to go for printing tomorrow. From tomorrow onwards, we can take up on that. Beware of your breathing. Notice the sensation of the breath. Feel the air moving in and out of your body. Notice how the chest and abdomen expand and contract slightly with the in and out breath. One conscious breath is enough to make some space where before there was the uninterrupted succession of one thought after another. One conscious breath taken many times a day is an excellent way of bringing space into your life. Even if you meditated on your breathing for 2 hours or more, which some people do, one breath is all you ever need to be aware of. Indeed, ever can be aware of. The rest is memory or anticipation, which is to say thought. Breathing is not really something that you do, but something that you witness as it happens. Breathing is not really something that you do. We don't initiate, Breathing is not really something that you do, but something that you witness as it happens. Breathing happens by itself. The intelligence within the body is doing it. All you have to do is to watch it happen. There is no strain or effort involved. Also notice the brief cessation of the breath, particularly the still point at the end of the out breath before you start breathing in again. End of the out breath, starting of the in breath. Yeah. Being aware of your breath forces you into the present moment, the key to all inner transformation. Whenever you are conscious of the breath, you are absolutely present. You may also notice that you cannot think and be aware of your breathing. You cannot think and be aware of your breathing. Conscious breathing stops your mind. But far from being in a trance or half asleep, you are fully awake and highly alert. You are not falling below thinking, but rising above. And if you look more closely, you will find that those two things, coming fully into the present moment and cease thinking without the loss of consciousness, they are actually one and the same. The arising of space consciousness. He brings it out, God is as a space, the great void. Pranavayu. Jivanam Sarvabhudeshu and the life force. Try an awareness bath. Theophil. An old uneducated woman approached the Buddha, wanting to meditate, saying that she was coming to it so late in life, she might not really be able to learn how. He gently advised her, as she drew water from the well each day, to remain mindful and aware of every single movement of her hand, knowing that if she did so, she would soon find herself in a state of alert and spacious calm, that is meditation. Even while drawing the water. It can be structured to any activity. After several people had claimed that meditative awareness was hard enough to practice on the meditation cushion, to suggest that we'll bring it to the everyday life is perhaps one of those nice sounding but ridiculously impossible things. I suggested what I thought was a simple mid-session project on taking an awareness bath. It's a beautiful word, awareness bath. You bathe everything with the awareness. Consciously do it. The flower is up. A woman left up furious, tired after a rough week at the office. She yelled at me about all the rubbish I was talking. She had to knead, roll out and cook about 30 chapatis every single evening, soon after getting home from work. Completely exhausted by dinner time, she barely soaped all over in the shower before collapsing on her bed. She even added that maybe it was only jobless people like me who could afford this silly luxury. My first instinct was to argue with her, to convince her, but thankfully I remained aware and shut up and went inwards. To my surprise, I got in touch with the sensory pressures of making chapatis. Without addressing her directly, I acted out a slow, invisible chapati making routine, all the time talking aloud of how my senses responded as I went along, measuring out the ingredients, the feel and colors of the deep red measuring bowl, the flat, silvery, shiny thali that reflected my hands and movements, really feeling the dry flour on my hands, pouring in cool, clear water, then the sticky, clingy coming together of the dough, the rhythm of kneading, breathing, and the alchemy of the transformed is just right to feed of the dough, all the time noticing the aroma changing constantly in the process. Then the rolling and flattening of individual chapati, the feel of the weight of the rolling pin, sometimes the perfect round ones that showed up, the amazing smell of the fresh roasted ones, how they puffed pleasingly at the end, then slowly flattened down. Maybe a few drops of aromatic ghee dribbled on each. It took just a few minutes, and there was total silence. I recalled the session for that day ended right there. The next Saturday, the same woman said smilingly that chapati time was now her stress management time. Not just that, it relaxed her enough to enjoy a really aware bathing time. Another called me last week, full 3 years after the session, telling me that over the years, this has become her holy time of the day. She willingly takes longer hours than before, and everyone, including her mother-in-law, agrees no one makes chapatis that look and taste as good as the one she makes. We can bring meditative awareness to washing dishes, eating, writing, walking, relating. We can let go of our usual excuses of no time or wrong place. Every day, things and actions can offer us unusual moments of holiness and perfection. Vedandaram. We call it a Vedandaram. True meditation by Mahatma Ji. A correspondent writes, you say that the rule should be that during prayers everyone should sit with closed eyes and think of nothing but God. The question arises as to how in what form you have to think of God. Gandhi. True meditation consists in closing the eyes and ears of the mind to all else, except the object of one's devotion. Hence the closing of eyes during prayers is an aid to such concentration. Man's conception of God is naturally limited. Each one has therefore to think of Him as best appeals to him, provided that the conception is pure and uplifting. Meditation and worship are not exclusive things like jewels to be kept locked up in a strong box. Meditation and worship are not exclusive things like jewels to be locked up in a strong box. They must be seen in every act of ours. Meditation and worship should be seen in every act of ours. I simply want to set you thinking about this. You know that you are always in my thoughts. Dear children, the Guru is only one, the Upaguru, may be many. He is an Upaguru from whom anything whatsoever is learned. It is mentioned in the Bhagavata that the great Avaduta had 24 such Upagurus. One day as the Avaduta was walking across the meadow, he saw a bridal procession coming towards him with a loud beating of drums and great pomp. Hard by he saw a hunter deeply absorbed in aiming at his game and perfectly inattentive to the noise and pomp of the procession, casting not even a passing look at it. The Avaduta, saluting the hunter, said, "Sir, thou art my Guru. When I sit in meditation, let my mind be concentrated upon the object of meditation as yours was on your game." B. An angler was fishing in the pond. The Avaduta, approaching him, asked, "Brother, which way leads to such and such a place?" The float of the rod at the time was indicating that the fish was nibbling at the bait, so the man did not give any reply, but was all attention to his fishing rod. Having first hooked the fish, he turned around and said, "What is it that you have been saying?" The Avaduta saluted him, "Sir, thou art my Guru. When I sit in contemplation of the deity of my choice, let me follow thy example, and before finishing my devotion, let me not attend to anything else." A heron was slowly walking on the marsh to catch a fish. Behind, there was a fowler aiming an arrow on the stone, but the bird was totally unmindful of the fact. The Avaduta was saluting it. "When I sit in meditation, let me follow the example, never turn back to see who is behind me." The Avaduta found another Guru in a bee. The bee had been storing up honey with long and great labor. A man came from somewhere, broke the hive, drank up the honey. The bee was not destined to enjoy the fruit of his long labor. On seeing this, Avaduta saluted the bee, saying, "Thou art my Guru. From thee I learned what the sure fate of accumulated riches is." Epistles of Swami Ramdas. Beloved Ram, it is not sufficient merely to awaken the mind to the supreme sense of the reality. A constant hammering of the truth on the restless mind is essential. When the mind is purified and concentrated through proper discipline and self-control, it imbibes and realizes the highest truth presented to it. Because an uncontrolled mind, although it accepts the truth, cannot retain it. The fitness of the mind to attain the knowledge of divinity consists solely in the complete eradication of desire from it. This is done through discrimination, concentration, and meditation, culminating in the realization of God. All through these ascending process of sadhana, experience becomes a guide. Ramdas is glad that you are making rapid progress. He would have you march onward, steadily, fearlessly, until the goal is reached. Don't forget that as an aid to meditation, dedication of all your action to the divine Shakti is essential. By this double process, you realize the immortal state easily, swiftly. In memoriam, Srimati Muthulakshmi Ramanathan, a devotee of the ashram from Bangalore and the mother of Srimati Chellam Subramaniam from Delhi, was called by Viratpapa on 25th January 2021. Srimati Saraswati Gopalakrishnan, the niece of Sundaramani, and an ardent devotee of the ashram from Sundaramani. She is universal Sundaramani now. As an ardent devotee of the ashram from devotee, dropped to the mortal coil and killed. We pray for Viratpapa's blessings on the departed soul for eternal rest and peace. 15,500 crore Namgabhejna. Statutes regarding ATG exemption. As per the latest statutes pertaining to the ATG exemption, a donor has to furnish his, her or PAN and another number along with the name and detailed address in order to claim exemption under the section ATG for donation. These details have to match with the annual statement of donors submitted by the institution to the income tax department, and devotees are requested to kindly furnish their PAN and other details along with their name and complete address. Vivekananda says, meditation is one of the great means of controlling the rising of the waves By meditation you can make the mind subdue these waves. And if you go on practicing meditation for days and months and years, until it has become a habit, until it will come in spite of yourself, anger and hatred will be controlled and checked. Meditation is a sort of prayer, and prayer is meditation. The highest meditation is to think of nothing. If you can remain one moment without thought, great power will come to you. Thought for the month. Really to stand apart from mind and watch its activities is a blissful exercise. The moment the dissociation becomes complete, that is to say, once identification with the watcher or the witness becomes perfect, that very moment the mind dissolves and you attain samadhi, that is absolute peace and bliss. So all the articles are highly subjective. We cannot do this, Radharani reading and try to assimilate. Next month when it comes to every one of you, you may kindly ponder over which one is okay for our equipment. Let us try to pursue. From tomorrow onwards we will try to take up one by one and then try to go within deep. Because inward journey means we have to go deep on. It cannot be a deep surface level. Actually today we thought of reading on Papa's article. In the morning we were reading. We try to understand his words. Sadhana is to know that by sadhana nothing can be achieved. That means sadhana is needed, no doubt, as long as the sense of individuality is there. The self-effort should continue as long as the sense of individuality is there. Actually, sadhana is to experience the state where there is no sense of individuality. Everything is done by him. So that was the article originally we thought of taking it up. So that gives a lot of clarity. A to A, no? Not A to B. So until I know that it is the A to A, I have to keep on struggling. Because the struggle relates to me only, the me and mine. That is why many of the Mahatmas used to say, you don't have to reach anything, you don't have to attain anything, you have to know yourself. So that the Papa's article was very, though it is a short, because it is very, very essential for all of us. We have to do sadhana until we realize. That is why we remember Papa often quoting Jnaneshwari Maharaj, first surrender and then repeat. Before surrendering, when we repeat, we always see we are repeating. We are doing bhajan. We are conducting satsang. We are hearing satsang. That we is there, no? I am there. So the efforts are now made to reach where there is no I, which is already there. So it is A to A, A to A, A to A. Tomorrow we will go through that also, because every now and then we have to keep on reminding. A lot of Mahatmas are told about sadhana, no? Everything is alright, but ultimately we should know. It is not a journey from A to B. It is a journey from A to A, meaning there is no movement outside. It is a stillness, no? It is the opposite of the movement. Inward journey means it is opposite of the movement. Outward journey means it is a journey from A to B. So, Papa has given us truth, everybody has given us truth. With this perspective, when we go through it, it might happen. So let us try from tomorrow. It is a very, very deep subject, subjective subject, and another one is totally attentive. It will be very difficult to understand, assimilate, and integrate with our thinking. Hari Om. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. 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 Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram.